What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the part 1 of a story where Issei fused with Ophis and becomes the true dragon god of truth and hope. The day after fighting Rias, Issei goes to the Occult Research Club to find out that Rias kicks him out. To add salt to the wound, she brutally lays it down that he is weak and also slips the truth behind his reincarnation. Issei is heartbroken. Again. He suffers from a decease with no proper cure. The near-death door. Again. His evil pieces which saved him is killing him at a faster rate. All Issei is now left with his hope, a hope to live in truth. Rias wanted the Red Dragon Emperor, not Issei Hyoudou. Drake, wanting his partner's survival the most, decides to let go of his pride and contact his rival. But what if another being comes as well, which surprises both the Dragon Emperors? Issei's journey from the weakest Red Dragon Emperor to the true dragon of truth and hope. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into part 1. Issei is excited is an understatement of the day. Rias called him to come to the old school building since she wants to announce something. Of course, this means he gets to see Rias, which has an excitement of its own. It has been a day since Issei gave his left arm to Drake and saved Rias from her engagement. To show her gratitude, Rias gave Issei a hug and a kiss on the cheek for affection. So being the pervert he is, his imagination is running wild. A perverted giggle comes from the young devil, followed by a very lecherous grin. Unable to contain the excitement, Issei makes his way to the Occult Research Club. Time skip to when Issei arrives at the doors of Occult Research Club, brought to you by Chibi. Issei running from the Kendo Club with Chibi Kaneko eating sweets in the background. Issei's heart was racing for 2 reasons. 1, he got here on his bike as fast as a newly reincarnated devil could, and 2, because the clubroom was quiet, which means that either there was no one or there was only one person, probably Rias. Calming himself down, Issei knocked the wooden door, hearing a faint come in. Issei knew that voice all too well. Excitement once again filled the 17-year-old as he twisted the doorknob to enter the room. As soon as Issei entered the clubroom, he found the heiress of Grimoire sitting on her desk with papers scattered across her desk. As soon as she heard the door, she looked up from her paperwork and gave her pawn a smile, one that bewitched most of the male population of the school. Wait, why is President alone in the clubroom? Wait, I am alone with President. Yes, this may as well be the best day of my life. Issei was giddy with perverted thought of being alone with his so-called savior. What Issei did not know is that being alone with a girl for a second time will change his life again. Good evening, President. May I ask, where are the others? You also messaged something about an announcement. The said voice was filled with excitement and enthusiasm. Belonged to the pawn of Rias Grimoire. The girl in question smiled at her servant. Ice-kun, seems you're in a good mood and the others are off doing their own things. This announcement is only for your ears only. Rias replied in her sweet voice and usual smile. If one were to see closely, the smile held a double meaning. One Issei was all too familiar with. A hint of uneasiness washed over the young devil. His intuition was tell him something bad was going to happen and he was not going to like it one bit. Will you die for me? As if on that moment the words of his first girlfriend and murder, as well as the thief who stole Issei's sacred gear, popped up into his mind. The words Rainer utters before killing Issei on his first date left an emotional wound in Issei, which has not healed yet. Issei, I am grateful for what you have done for me. I am very happy that you freed me from Rias, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Rias was sincere in each word she spoke and she could say more, but she needed to get to the point. But I am kicking you out of the Occult Research Club. Your perverted tendencies affect the club, but more importantly my reputation. I cannot afford that. Rias' voice echoed throughout the room. It was cold and monotonous. To show that she is serious, she looked straight into the eyes of her pawn. The eyes symbolized a lot of things, the most prominent being the superiority of Rias as a master and inferiority of Issei as servant. No slave was a better word to describe it. Issei's hair shadowed his eyes and his head was slightly tilted down. His face wore a grim expression, but no one could tell what the look in his eyes was. Not moving from her place to comfort her pawn, she continued speaking, disregarding his feelings. That is not the only reason. You're weak and your fight against Rias proved it. Your plans are reckless. I mean, you gave an arm to that dragon and used holy objects. There are devils who can resist holy items and opponents that holy items have no effect at all. You are the weakest Red Dragon Emperor ever. You can barely boost 3 times. You will make me and the rest of my peerage a laughing stock. The club has standards and you don't meet them. I hope you take this to heart and get stronger, then maybe you will become less of a pervert. You are after all the enemy to all women. I have finished making the announcement. You may live as you please, Hyoudou-kun. Rias finished her announcement. After what seemed several minutes of silence. President. No, sorry. Heiress of Grimoire, can I ask a question? Issei's position has not changed, but his voice was devoid of any emotion. Go ahead. Rias wanted Issei out of the club as fast as possible. brushing off her paw and calling her heiress of Gremory, but she inwardly cringed as it reminded her wish to be recognized as herself, not by her family name or looks. If a fallen angel were to enter a devil territory, would it be possible for a devil in charge to not notice? If any supernatural being were to enter, the devil in charge will notice no matter what. Now please be kind enough to leave and start training seriously. Rias said without catching on to what Issei was truly asking about. Issei's eyes widened at her statement. He turned around and ran. He ran out of the clubroom, out of the old school building, and out of Cow Academy. He realized something: Rias was no better than Rainer. Both use people till the extent they need them, then throw them away. Well, Rias only kicked him out, but he was not wanted the Red Dragon Emperor. He was used again, he was hurt again. But Rias was worse. She led him on, played with him more slowly, but surely made him a loyal tool that she can use as she wishes. From her earlier speech, he was something, not someone that can be flaunted like a piece of jewelry. He lost his own free will to choose for Rias to gain her own. He lost his humanity for a demanding princess. He lied to his parents because he was manipulated. He nearly died stopping the engagement. Anger directed towards himself was the thing he could clearly identify. Why at himself and not at Rias? Because he was a pervert, he was so damn easy to manipulate, he was stupid, he was a dull blade made of diamond, and most of all, he was lazy. They were many faults. Issei did not correct them, nor made an effort to get stronger. Among other emotions were sadness. Issei could make out. He was heartbroken again. He wanted to cry like a baby. But emotions aside, one thing was very clear. Rias Gremory let him die for her own selfish gain. Issei ran like nothing mattered to him. It did not matter. He ran into people, fell down and started running without looking at who he ran into, nor did he apologize. He got looks from people wondering why was he in such a hurry. Those from his school gave him looks of disgust. But this did not stop him, nor did it slow him down. I'm Skip, brought to you by a child. Issei crying, trying to be comforted by a panicking Drake with Albie and laughing at Drake's failed attempts. Issei's legs collapsed on the ground, unable to run further. Issei was breathing heavily. His emotions have not quelled in the slightest but have grown stronger. Will you die for me? Why? Issei said softly to himself. He looked around. It was the abandoned church. The same one Issa was killed in. The same one Rainer died in. The same one he came with Rin-chan all those years ago for praying. That time it was still running like a regular church. The same one Rias found out is Longinus. Will you die for me? An image of Rainer asking the question in the park at the end of their so-called date. Will you die for me? An image of Rias asking the question in the clubroom with a twisted smile on her face. Will you die for me? An image of Issei dying with Rainer piercing Issei's abdomen with her light spear. Another image of Rias reviving Issei comes into his mind. No, I have had enough. Issei felt unbridled rage, along with so many negative emotions overwhelming him. Suddenly the boosted gear manifested on Issei's left arm. His eyes turned green, akin of emeralds. I who am about to awaken. Before Issei could continue the chant, he was interrupted by a powerful draconic voice that would make weak-minded people shit their pants, but for Issei, this was a source of comfort. Partner. Be Drag. Issei spoke the dragon's name, surprise, relief being obvious in his tone. There was an underline of hope in Issei's voice. Yes, it is me, partner. Your emotions were so much that I was establish a secure connection with you. I saw what happened with the heiress of Gremory. I did not expect her to say that. But listen to me, partner, you need to calm down, and never, I mean never, start that chant. Bragg in his few words calmed Issei to a certain extent, but the last sentence was full of worry and caution. Issei couldn't help but poke at it a little bit. What was it? It was like I knew what to say, but I never heard of it. There was a slight silence in which Drake contemplated whether to tell Issei about it or not. Drake realized shifting the topic can get Issei's mind out of the recent event that took place not too long ago. Drake in the end decided to tell Issei about the chant and Juggernaut Drive. When I was sealed, all my power was sealed as well. The Juggernaut Drive is the state when the seal is removed, the chant is the activation for it. Usually the person would start the chant when under extreme negative emotion unintentionally. But the power comes at a price, sanity of the person and the life force of the person. They essentially become a walking machine of destruction with no sense of reason. They will continue to destroy until they run of their life force and the person dies. Many if not all of my previous hosts succumb to this. Issei's eyes go wide as dinner plates. The Juggernaut Drive is powerful, destructive and dangerous for the host and for the surrounding area. Better keep my emotions in check, Issei thought, not wanting to turn Cow into history, along with everyone in it. Before either Drake or Issei can say a word to the other, Issei clutches his chest, feeling enormous amounts of pain spreading from his chest region, and it is growing and spreading at an incredible rate. Before Issei can do anything, he vomits a large pool of blood. Partner. The voice of a very concerned and worried Drake roaring was the last thing Issei heard before passing out. I'm Skip, brought to you by Rassi, shocking Kiba and Issei to crisp with Asia, panicking to heal both of them, while Kiba has a charming smile with an undertone of irritation and Issei's expression screaming bloody murder. Once everyone returned from their contracts, Rias told them Issei is no longer part of the club, but it wouldn't interfere his devil jobs. When Akeno asked for the reason, she said he is damaging their reputation, and as well as he is weak and perverted. She also said Issei will have to get stronger and control his behavior so he could earn his place in the club. Akeno accepted right away, while Kaneko was slightly uncomfortable, did not put much thought into it either. Asia was devastated on how Issei, her first friend and older brother figure, was tossed aside so easily. She was angry and hated Rias more than anyone in the room. She also realized Issei was betrayed by someone he fell in love with twice, first Rainer and now Rias. While he was perverted, he was kinder than most people she has met. Rias' justification angered her to no end. Hyoudou was disappointed and angry at Rias. Why wouldn't he? Issei was kicked out the club because he is weak and perverted. While his perverted antics can be a little annoying, he was weak because he had no training prior to becoming a devil, nor having a consistent training, plus he was reincarnated only about 1 month ago. This was unfair to him. I must, who knows what he might do. Rias is hiding something. Issei-kun, wait for me, my friend. I will not let another comrade of mine die when I have the power to prevent it. Before anyone can say anything, Kiba bolts out of the room in search for his friend. Wait for me, I-san, I am coming. Please be okay. With this thought in mind, Asia followed Kiba, who bolted out the clubroom. Kiba ran out of the old school building and finally out of Kuo Academy. After what seemed like several minutes, he heard the voice of the friendly neighborhood excommunicated nun. Kiba-san, wait, Isa's voice reached Kiba finally. Kiba stopped in his tracks and turned back to see the blonde nuns with her hands on her knees, followed by heavy breathing. Clearly she lacked both stamina and speed, which Kiba specialized in. Before you say anything. Asia took a pause to catch her breath. Then she continued. You and I both want to look for Ai-san, right? Kiba, without opening his mouth, nodded his head to indicate a yes. Then it clicked. Issei was Asia's first friend. He was there when she was at her lowest. Compared to him, Asia had Issei in a higher regard compared to him. So Issei's presumed reaction and the fact Rias only said Issei was kicked out of the club and she said nothing else, something did not seem right. Alright, you cover the south and east side of the town, and I will cover the north and west side, since the north and west side is larger. Keep your phone on in case either of find him, call the other. If one of us are done with our side, call the other. If we can't find him, we will go to his house to see if he is there. Kiba said, finding the simplest and most logical plan he could come up with at the current moment. If we cannot find Issei, then let's tell his parents about the supernatural. Asia said without stutter. She was serious about it. What? Why? Kiba couldn't understand why Asia wanted to tell Issei's parent about the supernatural. Because Issei lied to his parents in order to keep them safe. But the current situation where Issei's emotions are unstable, he needs all the support he can get. I am sure his parents will accept him no matter what. I know it. Kiba could not refuse Isa's words. Whatever Rias said, along with kicking Issei out of the club, made Issei run out of the clubroom and his guess. His friend's reaction was violent, much more violent than his introduction to the supernatural world. Sighing, knowing Issei needs all the help he can get. Alright, let's go. We cannot waste any time. Kiba's voice represented his worry. Kiba and Asia both left in opposite directions of the road where the Kuo Academia lies. They had only one thought. Please be wait, Issei-kun, I-san. We are coming. I'm Skip to Issei, brought to you by Chibi Asia, pouting at a very confused Chibi Issei with Chibi Kiba raising an eyebrow. Ugh. What in the world happened? I feel like shit. Dryag. Issei was felt he was hit by a truck. His appearance changed, he was skinner, his skin was very pale, almost pure white, there were bags under his eyes. Partner. Find a tree trunk to lean on and sit and don't move much. Drake's voice was like a doctor instructing his patient, albeit Dryag's voice was filled with worry and sadness. Though Issei and Dryag have not interacted much, Dirag could easily make out Issei cared for him as a living being and not him as a source of power, which he was grateful for. He did not want to leave his host's side yet. Listening to his friend's advice, Issei got up from his spot and walked to the tree closest to the cliff where the town can be seen from. He walked slowly and it was difficult and painful. Once he made it though, he slowly rested himself down with his back leaning on the tree. His breathing was heavy like one ran just a marathon. Okay, so what is happening to me? Partner, lift up your t-shirt. Doing as the dragon in his left arm stated, Issei moved his t-shirt. His state was pathetic. He lost a lot of weight and his ribs can be seen. His skin was of an unhealthy color. What caught his attention was 8 black spots at the center of his chest, forming a circle. Each spot was equidistant from the other. Each spot was having a slight ominous glow coming from it. Issei understood this was the cause of condition, but the question was, what were they? Those black spots are you evil pieces. They were corrupted when you were about Juggernaut Drive. They are speeding up your decease known as Dragon's Fall. Decease. He was fine moments ago, wasn't he? Issei's thoughts were sensed by Drake. You're a wielder of the boosted gear that contains my soul. You can be considered a dragon in all but blood. A pseudo-dragon of sorts. So your weakness would be same of that as a dragon, those being dragon slaying magic and deceases specific to dragons. The one you currently have is called Dragon's Fall. A dragon contracts this when his or her mate or loved one betrays them. Your evil pieces are speeding the process up. Usually state which you are in now happens 1 or 2 months after getting Dragon's Fall. I believe you contracted the decease few hours ago. Is there a cure? Issei did not want to die, there was a lot to live for. Asia, his younger adoptive sister, he will admit he is a slight cis-con, and then there is Kiba. Well, they knew each other for less than a month, both of them have grown closer, like that of brothers. Heck, even his parents said they acted like brothers. Then there was his parents, he regrets lying to them, and he loves them very much. They already had back-to-back miscarriages before he was born, so his death would be devastating for them. Partner Drake's voice was broken, barely maintaining composure. Throughout the years he grew close to many hosts, he watched them die, but Issei was the first to acknowledge him as a friend. Sure, he was perverted, but nothing he can't handle, plus he also had a breast fetish. No, there is no cure for this, considering it is rare. Considering the rate at which the decease is spreading in 2 hours. Drake's voice stopped at the end, not knowing how to disclose the truth. Lay it on me, Drake. Issei steeled himself for whatever answer may be. You're dying. In those 2 words, all Issei was left with was the truth of Ria's intentions and hope he can make it alive, even if there was a slightest of chance. What are you planning, Rias? Akeno questioned her best friend. Since she found out Issei wouldn't react this violently if Rias only kicked him out of the club. Issei, despite being a pervert, was a very understanding person. Kaneko secretly also paid attention. I told him he was weak and needs to earn his place in the club. Of course this was a lie. Rias replied, sipping her tea while staring at her paperwork. Akeno rose a brow while having a slight poker face with a hint of curiosity. Kaneko stopped for a moment and looked up to her master. I was planning on trading him. I told him he was a weak pervert so that his growth is affected. I cannot have a strong red dragon emperor against me when I wish to become a rating game champion, now can I? Removing an obstacle, in short. Ria's position did not change when she said the statement. Akeno and Kaneko were shocked, to say the least. He was used and tossed aside so easily. Both half-breeds had thoughts like, if we don't meet standards we are going to share the same fate. Both of them steeled their resolve to reach high-class devils so they don't have to deal with Rias. Both Akeno and Kaneko had no idea since when did Rias become from a caring older sister figure and best friend to someone who will toss aside someone who sacrificed so much. They were hurt as well. Someone they trusted their life with turned out to be so ruthless and cold-hearted. They hope to reach high class so they can be free, not wanting to share the same fate as the going-to-be former pawn. I'm skipped to where Issei is brought to you by Chibi. Akeno giggling, while Chibi Rias pouting, who fell into a pond of water and got wet. Issei was talking to Drake over the course of the hour to come up with something in order to let Issei live. Both came to one conclusion. Those damn evil pieces need to be removed. Drake was willing to let go of his pride and contact help from someone he never thought he would contact, Albion. Over the talks he had with Issei, he shared the reason of why he was sealed and who was Albion, the Vanishing Dragon and the White Dragon Emperor of Supremacy. Issei's destined rival was the host of Albion. After locating Albion, he connected a telepathic link. While Drake was establishing a link, Issei lost consciousness due to the strain Dragon's Fall put him through. Albion, how have you been? Drake did not know how to start the conversation, and it hurt his pride to ask help from his rival. Draig, why did you contact me? What is so important to contact me? Albion was surprised his rival contacted him, but realized something must have happened to make Drake contact him of all people. No, more specifically, my host needs help, all the help he can get. He is suffering Dragon's Fall, and his evil pieces are worsening his condition. He only has an hour or 2 left. Albion, please bring your host over here so his draconic and demonic energies are stabilized. Well, my current host is not my strongest host, but he has a heart of gold which is very hard to find and nearly impossible in dragons, and his desire to protect those close to him and peace is second to none. Albion expected so many worst-case scenarios when Drake contacted him, but saving his host's life was unexpected. He was later shocked moments later when he heard his rival's host contracted Dragon's Fall. He nearly lost his composure. That decease's last known victim was from the time when he was a hatchling. Drake begging. The dragon with a heart of gold is a phenomenon that both dragons thought they will never see in dragons except for fairy dragons, but that was a story for another time. Protecting loved ones in peace was a rare no, it was damn near impossible. While the first one was common, second was not desire second to none. He made one hell of an expression on the Welsh dragon had on his current host. Too many things were running in the mind of Albion. Deciding to neglect his host's thoughts about this, he gave an answer. He needed to see this, he wasn't ruthless. What the hell did the kid go through to catch Dragon's Fall? Alright Drake, my host will come luck for you. She is a pure-blooded devil. Since the death of the biblical god, the sacred gear system was bugged. I happen to be manifested in a pure-blooded devil. She is a descendant of Lucifer, but if you can guess, Lucifer household did not participate in the devil's civil war. So stabilizing demonic and draconic energy wouldn't be problematic though. Your host has to do something. What is that something, Albion? I don't want my host to regret it in the future. Drake did not like the mischievous tone when he said something. Having a slight guess, since this generation's white dragon was an empress not emperor. I need your host to mark mine. Drake could not see Albion's face, but if he could, then Albion would have a shit-eating grin that would make it into Drake's top 10 moments before disaster list. No. Drake quickly shot down Albion's request faster than a blink of an eye. Wait, listen. My host, she is a battle maniac. She wants to fight and believes that if she would rather die than stop fighting. For her, the purpose of life is to fight. I am worried she might die. She is the best and strongest host I had, and I am unwilling to part with her. If your host marks mine, then her battle manic tendencies might mellow out a bit and your host may gain some fighting spirit. It is a win-win situation. Drake couldn't refuse Albion's logic. They both may develop a friendly rivalry as well, which was the same relation Albion and Drake shared. But before he could reply, a voice that surprised both of them. It was raspy, as if he hadn't had water for days. It was dry and was akin that of an old man in a young body, while retaining his voice to an extent. Alright, I will mark her, whatever. But is marking someone mean? Issei said, then coughed a couple of times, spitting a bit of blood. Albion was shocked. He was wondering how the boy was alive. Drake wondered when did his partner wake up. But that was not the point right now. Drake audibly gulped, making Issei raise a brow. Marking someone is when usually a male dragon marking a female as an act of claiming her as his. This is done by the female intaking small amounts of the male's blood and his draconic energy. Marking someone you love or don't love does not matter. Attraction between both the person marking and the marked person will happen. That means marking can happen forcefully as well. The male and female will also influence each other slightly, which what Albion hoping for. If I hadn't known better, Albion wants to destined rivals to fall in love. He is crazier than you, Drake. Drake roared in laughter, and the statement prompted a hey from Albion. Issei, despite being in pain, smiled a little. Alright then, Albion, I will accept this crazy request of yours, but if your host denies, I would not for her. Not that I can. Alright then, Hyoudou Issei. Hyoudou Issei, I will bring my host in sometime, please hold on with that. Albion cut off the link. After what seemed like a few minutes, a white magic circle shows a few meters away from Issei. A beautiful young woman emerges from the circle. She is around 5'10", with thigh-length platinum blonde hair that has tight curls at the bottom and the front, with bangs hanging over the right side of her face, blue eyes and an extremely well-endowed figure. She was wearing a white sleeveless shirt which shows of her gifted chest, tight red pants showing off her well-endowed legs, and she wore black slip-on shoes. She had a small black bag in her right hand. Issei realized she was more beautiful than Rias and Akeno combined. Descendant of Lucifer. She was a goddess, not a devil, especially not descendant of Lucifer. Luck bastard. Even Drake was jealous of Issei. A small grin formed on Issei's face. Okay, Albion, where is my rival? Her voice is sweet as well. As if on moment, Issei started to cough violently, realizing his end is nearing. Hearing the noise, the woman moved to the direction of the noise. Her eyes widened as she saw her rival. He was pale, deathly so, skinny and blood leaking from his mouth. Her rival turned to face her and smiled, a genuine smile and eyes filled with compassion. Even with so much pain he smiled. She respected him already. Taking a seat on rock which is very closest to Issei, which is a few centimeters. So you're my rival. She started the conversation, slightly disappointed she couldn't fight the Red Dragon Emperor of this generation. Name's Hyoudou Issei, 17 years old, pervert. Sorry, I may not live up to the hype you were hoping for. His voice was raspy, he was barely maintaining conciseness. Don't push yourself too much. You had it bad for getting something like Dragon's Fall. The name is Valina Lucifer, you can call me Vali or Valina. I am 18 years old, the youngest super devil. Why do you mean pervert? She thought he was calling her a pervert. I am calling myself a pervert, not you. What do you mean super devil? Issei finished his sentence by coughing, but this time considerable amount of blood came out. Pulling a handkerchief from the bag, she wiped the blood of Issei's mouth. Issei blushed at his rival's action. Super devils are anomalies within devil kind with power to rival gods and low to mid-tier Longinus users. My grandfather, Serzich's Lucifer and Ajuka Beelzebub are the three known super devils. While I was born a super devil, I have yet to reach the strength where I can be classified as super devil. While explaining this to Issei, she pulled a bottle of water and gave it to him. This is not fair. First, you're a descendant of the Lucifer and Lilith, the mother of all devils. Second, you're a super devil with a power to rival gods. Third, you possess a sacred gear which is not supposed to happen by the way, which can kill gods on its own. You're overpowered. How am I supposed to rival your strength? I was a just normal human pervert at that, reincarnated recently. Issei ranted like a baby. Belina found the rant amusing. She started to giggle. Sighing, Issei smiled. His rant was light-hearted. Good thing she caught on to it. Belina was happy. Usually when people found what she could, they would come close to her for her power of body, if neither fear her and act formal, so Issei's reaction was refreshing. The two dragon emperors had their conversation for half an hour, where Issei talked about his life and Belina talked about her family and team. Belina laughed at Issei's perverted tendencies, and after finding out what happened regarding his reincarnation and master, she hated Rainer and Rias, but wanted to meet Issei and Hyoudou. Issei found out Kaneko's birth name was Shirin, and her older sister was a stray, along with Akeno being half fallen. Issei laughed at her team's antics, especially Kuroka and Biku's pranks on Arthur, and his love interest Ellen Westcott, which her team and family find amusing. Though the fact that her grandfather had 12 wings while her father had 10, and Belina herself possesses 14 wings, meaning 7 pairs of wings, and apparently Ceres had 10 wings and Michael possessed 12 wings, the biblical god had 14 wings, this means Belina is Satan herself. This rose a bout of complaints from Issei, amusing Belina to no end. Belina eventually brought up the topic why she was here. So Albion told me I will put a balance between your demonic and draconic energy, and you mark me as yours. In hopes to cure Dragon's Fall. Belina blushed a bit. She wouldn't mind spending her life as her rival's husband. She enjoyed his company, and his perverted antics will make things more interesting and unique. Issei blushed as well, since if this his method is a success, then he will not only live but have a beautiful wife, but also someone who accepts him completely. Belina was different than Rias or Rainer. While both approached him for his power, Belina approached him with the intention to help. She wasn't hiding anything significant from him. I won't mark you if you don't want to. I am a dying man. Someone such as yourself should find someone better than me. Plus the chances of this method failing are quite high. Issei genuinely believed everyone should choose whom they love. I rather see you die in a battlefield than like this. Belina's battlemania persona was showing. Without getting Issei's consent, Belina moved closer and kissed Issei on the lips, much to his surprise. Issei froze. He felt Belina's soft lips kiss tasted like vanilla, sweet. On instinct he reciprocated the kiss. Belina once again surprised her rival by sliding her tongue into Issei's mouth and tasting blood, which she did not mind. She placed her left slender and soft hand on his left cheek and deepening the kiss. Issei realized something. She was sucking his draconic and demonic energy out of his body. He tried to resist, but he was too weak to, and it was too late. He could feel Belina's emotions and overall presence. She was marked by him. She pulled away, feeling Issei's emotions, pain and warmth. She was his, and she did not regret it. She pulled out of the kiss with a string of saliva connecting both of them and a blush on her face. But her face was still close to Issei's own. Why? Issei had an outburst. He didn't want her to bound to a dead man. Plus, his condition did not improve. He knew it was too late. Belina knew as well, but she did it anyway. Still cupping his cheek with her left hand, she dragged her thumb across his skin. I want you to leave a mark on this world. She spoke softly, and that calmed Issei down. Then she continued, I want you to leave something in this world, and the only thing I could think of is marking me as your mate. I do not regret what I did, and if I met you in different circumstances the result will be the same. She gave him a small sad smile. She sat down right next to him and intertwined her right hand with his left hand, which looked like a hand of an old man with less wrinkles. She turned to smile at him. Ice, she started, surprising the brunette again. You're far from the ideal man and you have your flaws. But you have something every single woman would want from a man, and I am no exception. A kind heart and good nature. I cannot say I love you because I don't, but I can say as I always want you by my side. Force marking was the only I could fulfill my wish. Sorry I was selfish. She said in a calm and soothing voice. Never I had thought a white dragon empress would be marked by a dying red dragon emperor, whose cause of death would be Dragon's Fall. Never thought I would see a dragon infected by it. A monotonous voice of a floating loli. Ophis, what do you want from my host? Drake's voice was akin that of a protective family member. The now identified Ophis has an appearance as that of a cute young girl with long black hair down to her hips and black eyes. Her ears differ from a normal human's as they have pointed tips, although her long black hair makes this feature difficult to notice. Her dark black eyes have reptilian silted pupils. I wanted to see this generation's red dragon emperor. This confused all of people present here. Belina, Drake and Albion were wonder how did Issei attract a dragon god of all people. Awkward silence descended among the three. Well, awkward for Drake, Albion and Belina. Ophis, can I ask you a question? Issei was the first to say something. Go ahead. What is your wish, Ophis? I wish to kill Great Red and return to my home, the dimensional gap. Ophis replied with burning passion to return to its home and hatred for Great Red in its eyes. What is special about the dimensional gap? Issei asked with genuine curious about why was a gap between dimensions. What made it so special for the Ouroboros dragon? I lived in silence in the dimensional gap from my birth. When I came to visit this planet, Great Red came in and made a lot of noise which I dislike. Great Red was stronger than me, so I came back here to form a team to kill him. Ophis replied in her monotone voice. What is your wish, Issei? Ophis asked a dying boy using his name. I wish to live. I want to see this world. I want to live a peaceful life. I want to live up to the title of Red Dragon Emperor. I want so many things that I cannot do now that my condition is irreversible since the damage is done to my soul. Issei was passionate as he could get. So Issei thought, then a ridiculous idea came up into the young man's brain. Feeling Issei having hope to live through the connecting Valina now shares with him, she gives a gentle squeeze to his hand which is intertwined with hers, hoping he lives because she really wants to have a life with him. Gathering his thoughts, Issei started to speak. Before I start, speaks, hear me completely before saying your thoughts about it. This got the nods of Valina and Ophis with Albion and Drake giving a verbal acknowledgement. The soul is always undisturbed, right? No matter how damaged the body is and how chaotic the mind can go, the soul is undisturbed. Except for evil P system and sacred gears, the soul is undisturbed. Since you want silence and the dimensional gap is the best place for it, wouldn't my soul serve as a place for your silence? Since it is damaged due to the evil pieces, I believe you residing in my soul will be fixed and I will be able to live and you get the silence you desire. As long as I live you will have your silence. Issei finished his thoughts while breathing heavily. His lung capacity was terrible. Crazy, kind and unpredictable. I couldn't have asked for a better rival. Valina was excited to the point it worried Issei slightly. If he manages to pull this off, he would have the power of the Ouroboros dragon and Welsh dragon. He will be strong. Valina was giddy on how far she was going to push herself to stand on the same footing as her rival and mate. Issei figured out why Albion called Valina a battle maniac. Greg. Yes. Your host is crazy. Yeah. If this was anyone else I would decline immediately, but Hyoudou Issei has done something that nobody thought was possible. I cannot argue with his logical reasoning as well. Well, I can retain my consciousness and Issei can retain control of his body. Very well, I will merge with Issei. A grin formed on Ophis' face, scaring the ever-living shit of everyone present. Very Hyoudou Issei, I Ophis, the Ouroboros dragon god of infinite and nothingness, and the jet black god of infinity, deem you worthy of merging with. I declare you as the true dragon god of truth and hope. Shocked was an understatement. After Issei made a crazy proposal, Ophis accepted, and did Ophis call Issei a true dragon? What? How? Why? These were the common thoughts of the heavenly dragons, while Valina herself was happy and excited how strong Issei can get and how far she is going to push herself. Issei at that moment vomited a large pool of blood, signifying death is a step away. Ice Valina screamed with worry at her rival. Partner. Drag not falling too far behind. Hyoudou Issei, do you accept to merge with me? Do not worry, each of us will retain our individual consciousness, since it is merging of the soul and body, not the mind. If you wonder, I can still manifest outside as an avatar and interact with the world, but without much power. Ophis was excited to say the least. This is most emotions it had and showed since its birth. Issei, too weak to say anything, nodded his head and smiled at Ophis. Very well, Drag, I want you start regonification of his heart, host of Albion, move away and create a barrier. Issei, once this process is done I will go into slumber for a few days to regain my energy, so listen carefully. Issei looked up to Ophis and nodded for it to continue. Once the fusion is complete you will recover from Dragon's Fall for a few hours. Your body will also eject your evil pieces. Since my soul will take its place, after a few hours you will collapse. Your body will be rebuilt by using mine, Drag, Baka Red's power, which I secretly stole over the course of time that I fought him. This is to stabilize your soul's fusion with my own. The primordial fairy dragon's DNA which I currently have on person. I couldn't use it, but thought it was useful, so I kept it. Ophis took a pause to let the first set of information sink in. Drag and Albion were shocked. Well, why wouldn't they be with all the stuff that would be going into the boy? Some questions they had in common are, where in the world did Ophis get a fairy dragon's DNA? Much less a primordial one. Weren't they extinct? Opting to keep quiet and listen, they focused on Ophis's explanation. I will send you information regarding types of dragons into your mind as well. Weaker people like humans and devils like the ones in your school will die by the amount of concentrated aura you will release during your body's rebuilding process. So stay with your mate, she would not get affected by your aura. I believe her team and family will also not get affected too much. Don't worry, you won't become genderless like me or Baka Red. Issei took a second to absorb the information, few hours to say goodbye, go with Valina and recover then get stronger, he noted. nodding his head saying he understood what the dragon god was saying. Hey Ice. Issei turned to look at Valina, who had her left hand on her chest and right hand holding the black bag she brought. Live for me, okay? You owe me a fight for staying with you. She said softly and with a smile on her face. She meant every word of what she said. Live for me, that's what Rias said when she made him her servant, but now Valina said it. But this one was more kinder, filled with love, not a command. Issei smiled, the same one she saw when she first saw him. Both of them grew closer in the few hours, and now it is nearing sundown. They were friends, closer to lovers and rivals despite the large difference in power. Let's do this, Ophis, and thank you for giving me a chance to live. Issei was sincere in every word. Thank you, Issei, for letting me experience silence once again. Ophis smiled at him. A black ring of power formed around the dragon god and reincarnated devil. Issei's eyes closed and his body rose about 1.5 meters above where he was sitting. Time skip to Hyoudou household with Hyoudou and Asia, brought to you by Chibi Ophis and Chibi Issei, performing the fusion dance with great wearing glasses. Hyoudou couple were filled with shock, sadness, anger and hate. Shocked that the supernatural is real, their son wields a sacred gear that can kill gods if used properly. Their son was reincarnated into a devil. Sadness that their son lied to them for their own safety, since they knew their son did not like to lie to both of them, and sadness since their son was in a terrible state. Both parents were angry at Rias for manipulating him and Rainer for killing him. They also hated both of those women for what they did to their son. Hyoudou and Asia told them everything, though they were also slightly wonder what Rias said to get such a violent reaction from their son. When they asked, both replied they wanted to find out as well. Where is Issei? Guru Hyoudou, the father of the Red Dragon Emperor, asked. Worry was stitched into every word. Asia and I searched the whole town. We could not find him, Hyoudou replied with sadness. He did not want to lose Issei, who he considered a friend. Wait, Hyoudou, did you check the abandoned church? Asia asked with a realization. No, he must be there, come on, let's go get him. Hyoudou said in a hurry, wanting to make sure Issei is safe. I don't think would be necessary, Hyoudou. A calm voice of Issei cut in. He looked skinner than they would remember, but not as skinny as he was when affected by Dragon's Fall. His skin was paler, not as pale as before, but paler than usual skin color. His eyes were showing fatigue, but he had a smile on his face. Both his parents hugged him. While Asia and Hyoudou were about to move, they sensed he was different. After settling down emotionally and physically, Issei did not waste any time in explanation, from his talk with Rias, to his decease, to Valina's arrival, leaving out the marking her part and his changing to dragon. So that is why you were giving a more draconic energy, Hyoudou said, making Asia nod her head. Actually, the dragonification is not complete. Weak devils and humans will die if exposed to my aura during dragonification, so I need to leave for 2 months to not only make sure you don't die, but also to receive proper training. As he said this, he dropped a brown pouch on the table. Hyoudou opened the brown pouch to find 8 broken pawn pieces which belonged to Issei. All the pieces had an ominous aura around them. Not bother to remove the pieces out the cloth, he closed the pouch and looked at Issei with a shocked face. I merged my soul with Ophis, who is a dragon. Since my soul was reconstructed, my soul ejected the evil pieces since the connection between them was severed. Don't worry, the deal between me and Ophis is harmless. Issei's explanation got nods from his parents and curiosity from Hyoudou and Asia, but both knew Issei was not ready to talk about the Ophis character, so they are going to respect that. Suddenly Hyoudou gets a phone call from Rias. He was going to decline, but Issei reminded it may be something important. Excusing himself, Hyoudou went to see what Rias wanted. When he came back, though his face was filled with so much rage, Issei wondered what Rias said to make Prince Charming, who is always smiling, so angry. Apparently Rias wants me bring you into the clubroom so she can trade you. The heiress of Phoenix clan wanted to start a peerage with you as her first piece. But considering you're no more a devil. Hyoudou's statement trailed off. What response did you give her? I only said okay, President. Nothing more. Why? She wanted to trade her pawn right to take this pouch with you. You cannot be punished for disobeying. Issei gave Hyoudou a smirk which he replicated. Seeing these two, Asia smiled, knowing something is going to happen. Who are all in the clubroom? Serzich's Lucifer Sama, Ajuka Beelzebub Sama, Grey Fiasan, Lord and Lady Phoenix, and heiress of Phoenix clan. Claire Phoenix, the strongest demonic sword wielder. If she joined a peerage, she would undoubtedly become one of the strongest knights in the underworld. Nodding at his friend's statement, an idea popped up in Issei's mind. Issei took a book and pen and started writing something onto it. He wants to ask something of the Devil Kings and some people present there. Time skip to Hyoudou reaching the Occult Research Club with a smug smile, brought to you by Chibi Asia mischievously, and Chibi Issei crying. Mutter Asia became a devil. She is no more innocent, over and over again, with Chibi Drake sighing at his partner's antics, but clearly he is enjoying the situation. After bidding goodbye to Issei and healing after a small incident that took place, Hyoudou made it to the occult research, though he had his right hand in his pocket for some reason. Hyoudou knocked the clubroom's door, getting a soft come in. Inside the clubroom there was Lord and Lady Phoenix standing opposite to the window. With them was a beautiful blonde-haired young woman with her hair tied in long twintails and blue eyes, as well as a voluptuous figure. She wore a skin-tight red outfit with black accents and green highlights, with an odd but fitting collar with gram strapped to her right side. She looked like an older version of Ravel. On the opposite of the Phoenix was a Surzich's Lucifer, who was less than pleased at what Rias is doing. He is make sure Rias was going to get punished. Next to him was Grafia Lucifage, who shared the same sentiment as her husband, but barely was able to keep her mask on. Lastly was Ajuka Beelzebub, who came because he felt Issei's piece was acting up, so he came to check on them. In the middle of the club was Rias, who was wondering why Hyoudou was late in bringing the pervert late. Sorry, took me a while. I was saying goodbye to a friend. Hyoudou came in with a bag in hand. Where is Hyoudou? Hyoudou Rias questioned since Issei was not there. You asked for Yupon, right? Here you go. Hyoudou threw a brown pouch on the table. Don't joke with Hyoudou. Where is Hyoudou? Rias was angry. She wanted this over, clearly. Ajuka, Grafia Surzich's and the Phoenix clan members felt an ominous glow from the pouch. Ajuka went up, opened the pouch, and his eyes went wide. He reached inside the bag and pulled out a single pawn piece. It was a cracked evil pawn piece which glowed black, devoid of demonic power, and filled with emotions, more specifically negative emotions, as if Issei went into Juggernaut Drive, but the town was still standing. Thiba, explain. Surzich said coldly. He wanted to know what happened to the man he thought would become his brother-in-law. When Rias not only kicked Issei out of the club, but brutally lectured him of him being weak, and frankly he was also reincarnated only a month ago. He ran to the abandoned church, not being able to think straight, and nearly went into Juggernaut Drive. If it was not for Drake, Issei would have activated the Juggernaut Drive. Except for Rias, Akeno and Kaneko, everyone's eyes went wide as dinner plates. Claire forgot about getting her starting peerage. She was worried about Issei. He had a heart of gold any girl would want. She wanted him to live. It does not matter Red Dragon Emperor or not, devil or not, she wanted to see him alive, not dead. After that, Issei got a very rare dragon's decease known as Dragon's Fall, which is caused by a dragon going through very extreme negative emotions. Apparently the last time a dragon had Dragon's Fall was when the heavenly dragons did not reach the strength that they were feared for. Since the decease damages the soul, there is no cure. The evil pieces were speeding up the process exponentially. Hyoudou took a pause to breath and let the information register, then continued. Drake contacted the host of Albion to help stabilize his condition, which Albion accepted. Some time after the White Dragon Empress arrived and his energies were beyond her ability to stabilize it, Ophis arrived. Issei and Ophis had a conversation before both of them came to a deal. Ophis will mend Issei's mind and soul using its own, and Ophis will reside in Issei's soul to attain the silence it wanted. Just saying he won't become a devil no matter what. Also, he left with the White Dragon Empress, since the dragonification is poisonous to weak devils, even Rias and Sona, as well as humans. I can send things to him, but he will be in a coma for a while, and he will return after a month. He also blushes when mentioning the White Dragon Empress. He said she was more beautiful than Rias and Akeno Senpai combined, keeping the last part to himself, since it would make an excellent teasing material. Rias was shocked that Issei removed the evil pieces and survived. She was angry he called her weak. She was stronger than him. Lord and Lady Phoenix were happy their maybe future son-in-law was alive, and they did not mind if he refused to become a devil, considering what Rias did to him. They were also shocked Issei fused with a dragon god of all people. Surzich's and Grafia were shocked at who Issei fused with, angry at Rias, and saddened by the fact they were not there for him, though they did not interact much. Claire was happy Issei was alive, maybe she can stay by his side as a comrade. She was also worried about his mental condition as he used love Rias. Ajuka was worried would Issei be hostile against devils. A person wielding the power of the Ouroboros dragon and Welsh dragon would be a frightening enemy. He also wanted to give a prototype peerage set which reincarnate people if they wished to. If they did, they would be reincarnation race as a god, but the divinity would be very less to non-existence, plus the reincarnation part was only for humans. But the ones holding the king piece must be strong enough for the set to work. This was because this set was done in collaboration with Hephaestus, the Greek god of fire and a legendary blacksmith. It was powerful, but since the objective was to revive the devil race, so he kept it with himself for research purposes. He smiled, coming to his decision. Also, he wanted me to give this letter to you, Lucifer Sama. He asked a favor of you. By the way, Beelzebub Sama, Issei said he does not hold hostility against devils. His only problem would be Rias, but he would not do anything to her if she does not do anything. Hyoudou said, feeling everyone had their opinion on Issei's third chance in life. Taking the letter from Hyoudou, Surzich's read it while showing it Grafia and Ajuka. Dear Surzich's. I will be away for a whole month and will be back once I recover and train. I am currently with the family of the original Lucifer, who are slightly inclined towards the anti-Satan faction, as they believe your ideals profit the devil kind better, so that is why they stayed out of Devil's Civil War. The heiress of the Lucifer house is the White Dragon Empress, if you were wondering, a pure blood at that. Apparently her aura was that of human when she was still in the womb, so she ended up with a scared gear. I have a few favors to ask you. First, handle the paperwork for my sudden disappearance. 2. Train Hyoudou in his endurance in Asia and magic so they can reach to high class. I do not want Rias to use both of them as leverage against me. If she does, I will kill her. 3rd, can you expand my house? I have a feeling I will not be coming alone. 4th, well, can you give the heiress of Lucifer a set of evil pieces so she can take part in raiding games? Thank you. Your friendly neighborhood Red Dragon Emperor. Hi, do say. Surziches and Grafia looked at each other and nodded, while Ajuka nodded to himself. Does Issei really think I cannot handle his aura? Rias asked with arrogance filled to the brim. Yes, he left as soon as he felt the Dragonifaction was going to start, and my hand was somewhat close to him at that moment. This is what happened even after Asia using Twilight Healing. It showed Hyoudo's right hand with many tiny scars around the whole hand cover from the top of his fingers to his wrist, and one jagged scar, which is around a centimeter thick, running from the top right of the back of his hand down in a 45-degree angle to the bone connecting to the middle finger around the center of the back of his hand. I need to make sure students don't see my right hand, otherwise it will be problematic. Hyoudou thought. Everyone gasped. If his hand was this badly scared even after Twilight Healing, then how bad was it the injury? Did he the Dragonification was going to start? How strong was he going to be? Issei post-Dragonification needs to train anyway. This was caused by his concentrated aura, which is consisting a mix of Ophis and Drake's aura. Since Ophis is a dragon god, the second strongest being in the top 10 strongest, being surpassed by Great Red and Trahixa, who likes to be known as Isabella Ossa. Hyoudou finished his statement. Rias found out Issei now has the power of the second strongest being in the world, in addition to his long-eyeness. She regretted letting Issei go. If he pulls something impossible like that, he could have made her a raiding game champion. Dibba, didn't you say you can send things to Issei, right? Well, I have a token of apology for him, Ajuka said, summing a black box in his hand. This black box contains the predecessor of the evil pieces. It has a king piece as well. This, instead of reincarnating a person into a devil, the reincarnation will be into a god if the person is human. Everyone was shocked. Reincarnating someone was unheard of. Rias was jealous of Issei to get something like that. But the divinity is very less to non-existent. This set is more powerful than the evil pieces, but using this set one needs to be strong herself, and have divinity as well. Issei fits all these criteria, so this is an apology gift to him. Handing the box over to Hyoudou. Smiling, Hyoudou pulled out a book and wrote a note explaining the box. Tearing the page and placed it inside the box. Then he pulled out a flyer, placing it over the table with a silver circle in the middle, and placed the box over it, sending some demonic energy. The flyer activated, and the box disappeared. Hyoudou, you and Issa will start training tomorrow as requested by Issei. Grafia had a smile on her face that promised pain. She was not going to let her sister-in-law's former pawn down. Hyoudou wondering what bullshit Issei wrote in the letter. This is going to be very painful. As came back to the abandoned church to meet and leave with Valina after saying his goodbyes and making sure Hyoudou is alright. As Issei went up the hill, he got in the side of Valina, then he suddenly collapsed. Ice. Valina shouted quite loud and ran to her rival. Don't worry, his Dragonification started, which would have been painful if he was conscious, as his body would break down and rebuild itself from head to toe. Though it seems his emotions, more specifically his lust, has reduced to that of regular people. Maybe because of the fact that Ophis was emotionless, his soul cut down his emotions and given it to Ophis to let it experience emotions. Like a vintage weighing scale with his soul balancing both sides. I think these are the only changes I can identify, others are yet to develop. So Issa's personality will change. Worried he may not be the same person. No, he won't be a pervert, and Ophis will be able to display emotions. Drake said like it was a good thing, which Valina did not pry into why it was. Picking Issei up, she smiled at him. A silver circle appeared underneath both of them, and in a glow they both leave the church, abandoning it. Time skipped to Valina arriving at the Lucifer household with Issei brought to you by Chibi Hyoudou crying and Chibi Grafia laughing like a maniac, with Chibi Surzich's sweat dropping in the background. The Lucifer household and volley team, as they called it, were waiting for the return of the White Dragon Empress. Valina left in somewhat a hurry, saying no time to explain, since Valina always explains her actions no matter what. Well, they were in for a surprise when the person in question comes through a teleportation circle in the middle of the room with an unconscious boy on her back. Before anyone could say something, Valina quickly spoke in a tone that she clearly cared for the boy. Euclid, help me get Ice onto a bed. His name is Hyoudou Issei, Hyoudou being his last name, Issei being his first. He is the Red Dragon Emperor. I will explain everything, but first help me out. Everyone was too shocked to move. The boy Valina came with was her rival. Wouldn't she try to fight him for the heck of it? Euclid Lucifuge is a young handsome looking man appearing in his early 20s with silver hair that is tied in a braided hairstyle. He wears a silver robe with detailed accessories. Quickly complying with the great-granddaughter of Lucifer's request, Euclid went to take Issei from her back. Since Valina called Issei as Ice means that she has some sort of attachment and affection for him. But as soon as Euclid touched Issei, he retracted his hand as if he touched a very hot object. Valina-sama, how are you able to touch him without getting affected? I feel like I will disintegrate if I touch him. Graphia's brother, you don't seem strong enough to handle partners or if you get close to him, but at a distance you seem fine, your strength is commendable for that. But as for your question, Valina got partner to mark her without his consent, so she is unharmed as partner's draconic was once absorbed by her. Host of Albion will explain everything later. The only one who will be unaffected by touching partner are Valina and son of Lucifer, Rizavam Livan Lucifer. Drake explained, shocking people in the room again. Rizavam Livan Lucifer has the appearance of a middle-aged man in his 40s with dark silver hair and hazel eyes. He looked much like his son, Razavan, albeit with longer hair and a beard. He wore the same attire as Surzich's, although colored in silver. Rizavam nodded his head and pushed down the urge to kill Issei for marking his granddaughter, since he is very overprotective of her. Pulling Issei off her back carefully since she calls him Ice, so there would be some hint of affection for him. He takes him to the room upstairs and tucks him in the bed present there. I believe I owe you an explanation. That would be nice, Drake. Rizavam said politely. Partner was reincarnated into a devil by the heiress of Gremory without his consent by letting him. She used him to get out of her engagement while partner was weak since he was only reincarnated last month. He gave everything to defeat the person set up to marry her by giving me his arm. Next day she brutally calls him weak, which is true, but he has not received proper training, nor had any former training before reincarnation. Partner's evil pieces get corrupted because of nearly entering the Juggernaut drive, but instead he suffered Dragon's Fall. Long story short, Ophis used her soul to mend partners, and he is going through dragonification. Valina will explain in more detail. He was betrayed twice and still keeps smiling, so you can trust him that he will take care of your granddaughter. Rizavam did understand that Drake's host situation was bad, but from the way Draghi spoke, he hoped that Hyoudou will not take advantage of Valina. Nodding his head, he bid the Welsh dragon goodbye. Time skip brought to you by a crying Issei comforted by Asia due to his in-laws interrogating him with Valina stuck between wanting to comfort Issei and being amused. With Albion secretly cheering his plan as a success. There was a heavy atmosphere in the Lucifer house. Valina explained from start to finish on what happened to the boy known as Hyoudou Issei, with Albion chiming in where Valina left out or unable to finish, who was trying to bite back her tears. A usually trouble-making duo who rarely took anything seriously, Biku and Kuroka were silent, Li Fei and Elaine openly weeping hugging each other, and Arthur was somewhat compassed with a grim expression on his face. Euclid was ready to kill his brother-in-law's sister for doing something like this, while he did respect Surzich's and gave his support for his and his older sister having a relationship. We would hold no regret for killing Graphia's sister-in-law. Rizavam, who was usually cheerful, was serious and angry. Razavan Lucifer, father of the White Dragon Empress, looked a lot like his father, looking at least 10 years younger than him with shorter hair and a clean shave, as well as green eyes, compared to his father's golden ones. Valina Lucifer, mother of the White Dragon Empress, had hair similar to her daughter and looked like an older version of her, though the beauty Valina was not as prominent as her mother Valina. Both of them downright were angry at Rias for two reasons. One, she manipulated him without a care in the world, and two, Valina cared for him to the point she was ready to give her rivalry to save his life. In their eyes he was his son-in-law already. Bazina, grandmother of the White Dragon Empress and mother of Razavan, was around the same age as her husband, with green eyes like her son and jet black hair, with a white streak running on the right side. She had a few wrinkles like her husband. She usually with a motherly smile was frowning. His aura is strong, Naya. He will be very strong. By the way, what is a fairy dragon, Naya? I have not heard of such a dragon. Naya. Kuroka asked after recovering mentioning about the DNAs that will be incorporated into Issei's body during his dragonification. Before Valina's grandparents cut in, Albion responded. Fairy dragons are an extinct species of dragons that, unlike regular dragons who focus on destruction, fairy dragons are somewhat the opposite. They were the best healers. In fact, healing magic were first introduced by fairy dragons, and sacred gears like twilight healing were modeled after fairy dragons, but they not as powerful as fully matured fairy dragons. They are better than phoenix tears, and primordial fairy dragons, which are the progenitors of fairy dragons, are said to bring back the dead if the person's death occurred 4 to 5 minutes before. Since Issei is going to be part primordial fairy dragon, he would have healing capabilities higher than twilight healing and phoenix tears, but not as great as bringing back the dead. But the question is, how in the world did Ophis get fairy dragon DNA a primordial to boat? Albion finished his explanation, shocking everyone except for Valina's grandparents, who knew what they were. They too wanted to know where Ophis managed to get something like that, more like how did Ophis get something like that. So how long will Issei stay asleep, Vali? I think he is in a coma, since the dragonification process would painful as he is not getting reincarnated, but changing race with his body destroying and rebuilding itself, right? Razivin asked his daughter using her nickname Vali. You're right, dear, he is in a coma since the process is too painful. I could sense his body destroying itself and rebuilding itself. Valina, Vali's mother, answered to her husband's question. She was by far the best in the house when it comes to medical stuff relating to devils, but she also learned about dragons after finding out her daughter holds a dragon-type sacred gear. His magic reserves are increasing at an exponential level. They already surpassed Oni-sama some time ago and now is rivaling Elaine Ni-chan. By the end of the week he will have enough draconic magic reserves to rival you, Vali-chan. Le Fay, the descendant of Morgan Le Fay, answered. She was a magical expert. His life force is stable. Naya. Kuroka, a half-nekashu, a rare breed of cat yokai, threw her 2 cents in the diagnosis of her sister and all but blood's mate. This made Vali breathe a sigh of relief. She was worried for her rival. The analysis of her mother and team put her nerves at ease. Time to come to the main question, Razina said with a serious face. Razivim sighed, knowing what his wife is going to ask, though he would be lying if he hadn't had the same question. Razivin and Valina also knew what was coming. Razina asked the same question when they got married. When and how many great-grandkids are we going to get? I want 5, your father and mother only had you. Razina still had her serious face on. Ice and I having KK kids. FF5 of them. I wouldn't mind. WW what I am thinking, Valina, get a hold of yourself, you're the strongest white dragon empress. Vali was blushing like a tomato, not expecting her grandmother to say something like that, while everyone else was laughing. Even the stoic Arthur was chuckling, while Biku and Kuroka were laughing so hard their stomachs started to hurt. Well, Vali, can you answer me what this box is? It arrived during your explanation. Razivim said as much as he wanted to tease his granddaughter, he wanted to know what this black box that teleported into the house. He was more curious than alerted. I gave Ice a flyer that will send things to this place in case if his family wanted to send something. I did not expect them to send something this quick. Taking the box from her grandfather, she inspected it on the outside. I am curious on what it is, but I rather let Ice open it and then see, since it is mostly for him. Vali respected Issei's privacy. Also, apparently Surzich has contacted me saying he is going to get you your own set of evil pieces, since it was apparently requested by Issei. He is very considerate. Euclid came into the room with an apron. Oh. Dinner's ready. At the dining table everyone was eating their food. Vali being done, she asked. When do I have to get my evil pieces? I don't want to leave Ice's side. Vali said without thinking much, then blushed realizing what she said. The mark is taking effect and fast. I can tell them once Issei wakes up you will come and collect the evil pieces. Euclid acted like a receptionist of the Lucifer family, but he was treated as family by them. Nodding, Vali left the dining table and to the room Issei occupied. Issei lied on the bed motionless but breathing. His skin was a healthy color and he seemed to retain some flesh, which is a good thing. For the first time Vali saw Issei on how he looked like. This is how he would have looked when they met. Placing her right hand on his forehead, she gently brushed his brown hair, which is starting to gain a red undertone to it. She ran her finger through his hair before cupping his cheek. A smile formed on Vali's face. This is the man she will spend the rest of her life with, and he was her rival. Sitting on the left side of the bed, still having her right hand on his cheek, she leaned down and placed her lips on his own and gave a kiss. It lasted for a few seconds before she pulled back. Then she gently spoke. I know that other women will come for you both because of your power and personality. I am okay with that. I am willing to share you because a person like you appears once in a lifetime. But I will not people like Rias and Rainer come close to you because people like them don't deserve you. I promise to make sure they don't come. I know you may not be able to hear me, but that is okay. She spoke softly and with determination. Leaning down, she kissed Issei's forehead. Good night, Ice, sweet dreams. Getting up, Vali left Issei's room and went to her own. Unknown to her, Kuroka recorded the whole interaction from start to end. Grinning, she left quickly to show the team, Vali's parents and grandparents, this, Valina Lucifer is in love. Kuroka is not going to let her leader to live this down. Scene changed to Issei's mind. Skate bought to you by a Chibi. Vali, blushing about becoming pregnant with Issei's child. Issei looked around the area and spots Drake and smiles. Hey Drake, seems like the dragonification started right. Yup. So anything other than my emotions changing, I heard you say, the Valina. Well, we will have to see anyway. Your body will adapt to training we do here, so let us begin. Alright, let's do this. Humph, let's see how long you last. Now for the first lesson, dodge. As Drake said this, he threw a massive blast of fire at his partner. Well, Issei thought dragons are insane would be an understatement. Time skipped by a week, brought to you by Issei Hyoudou, cursing Issei for putting him through insane death-like training unknown to him. Drake is trying to put Issei on fire, and calling it training. Can he compare? Probably not. A week has passed since that fateful day, and Vali was protective of Issei, making sure he was good health during the dragonification. She stayed with him in the room reading a book or talking with other who planned to give her company. The Lucifer household, more like Razina and Valina, accepted him, which made Rizavam and Razavin accept him as well, since angering their wives and mother for Razavin's case would not end pretty. Even though Rizavam is a super devil, he is terrified of his wife if she gets angry, a sentiment Serzic as a fellow super devil shares as well. Vali team were happy with the introduction of Issei, though like the Lucifer household they never interacted with him. They had seen the positive effect he had on Vali. They never expected the Red Dragon Emperor of all people to quell Vali's lust for battle. Biku and Kuroka had something planned which was not good. Euclid on the other hand was happy, to say the least. Vali was a younger sister to him Grafia visited, but Vali's presence filled his loneliness, so imagine when he said Grafia's potential brother-in-law is now my brother-in-law. Vali again blushed from the lucifuge. Though Rizavam changed Issei into white pants which were somewhat loose and left a shirt out since the previous one was tight, he presumed he will grow. The only other thing surprising was when Serzich's, Ajuka and Grafia came to give Vali's evil pieces, they found Kuroka, who was a SS class stray devil. After handing over the diary of her former master, they found out he was in collaboration with the old Satan faction and was experimenting on his peerage to create super devils and was planning to experiment on Shirin, Kuroka's younger sister, also known as Kaneko. Kuroka cried when she heard in a month she can freely visit her sister and she mostly will accept her after learning the truth. So Vali got herself a peerage now eligible to compete in raiding games. Her bishops were Lane and Lefay, her rooks were Biku and Kuroka, and her knight of two pieces was the strongest holy sword wielder, Arthur Pendergan, who wields Caliburn. Serzich's also paid a visit to the sleeping Issei. At first he was nearly sent to his knees from the heavy aura. When he asked how does everyone manage it, he gets a reply, we don't. Vali does. She is the only one who can handle it since she is marked by Issei. All three of them also learn about Issei's side of the story and parts which Hyoudou left out. Ajuka also revealed what is inside the black box. Needless to say, Vali stated she wants to fight Issei when he forms his teams. One morning a week is about to pass, and Issei mostly may wake up. Vali in her morning routine checks on Issei. To her surprise, she sees a 5'10" young man no more than 17, with crimson red hair, lighter and more orangish than the Gremory family that reached past his eyes, with sharp features, but with a perfect balance of cute as well, with his right as red as his hair, maybe a little darker, and his left eye golden like the evening sun. His upper body was showing a hard rock 8-pack. He was not buff as a bodybuilder, but lean, and each and every of his muscles can be seen clearly. He was in white pants that seemed comfortable. The young man was holding his wrist and exhaling, standing adjacent to the wall. He had a sharp jawline as well. Vali blushed. He looked good. The person turned to look at Vali. He was going to smile, but froze with blush adorning his cheeks. Vali, unlike the dress she wore, what was like a biker's outfit. Black pants that came up to the tailbone with two golden zips indicating pockets on each side of her hips. The pants hugged her hips, legs and ass perfectly, with a chain that came down till her thighs and connected back onto the belt she had on her waist. She wore a black t-shirt, which were struggling to hold her breasts, showing a bit of her bare breasts. Over the t-shirt she wore a black leather jacket that looked like an open crop top. Her hairstyle was still the same, but now she had a black simple choker around her neck. If she looked beautiful before, now she screamed hot and sexy. After a second the man regained his composure. You look good, Valina, the red-haired man said. Vali hoped it was him. Issei smiled at her, the same one he gave her the moment he saw her. Valina ran up to Issei and hugged him, wrapping her arms around his neck and burying her face in the crook of his neck. Issei wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her into a tight hug. Using his right hand he stroked Vali's gifted hair. Hearing Vali scream, everyone went to the source of the noise. What they saw when they arrived was a red-haired man with heterochromia eyes and hugging Vali quite affectionately. I thought you would never wake up. Vali's voice was soft, almost like she was whispering. But they heard it. Looking over the bed they see it was empty, meaning this man was the person who had been in a coma for the last 6 days. They were kind of shocked as well. Vali never spoke in this tone. Issei frowned, worry clearly plastered on his face. He cared for her, his eyes were trying to focus on her face and not her body, so the affection was mutual. Sorry, I did not intend to make you worry this much for me. Issei spoke in an equally soft tone filled with love. Razina and Valina recognized this tone. It was the same one their husbands use when they were calming them down when they returned from the war they fought. In Razivim's case, it was the Devil's Civil War, and in Rizavim's case, it was the Great War. They smiled. Their granddaughter found someone who will love her unconditionally. They pulled everyone out of the room and shut the door, giving the two dragon emperors some much-needed privacy. I know you would wake up in a week's time, but did not expect it to feel like an eternity. Grandpa suggested after you wake up leave for 3 weeks, more specifically from Monday to Friday, come back to me for 2 days and repeat. He said you might need experience. I couldn't refuse his words but. She couldn't finish her sentence as she started to sob slowly onto Issei's shoulder. Seeing him sleep like that for 6 days made her worry and think about the worst case scenario. She couldn't think about a life without Issei. I was planning to leave with a similar schedule since both Drag and Ophis suggested it. Currently Ophis went to deal with some stuff. I believe she will come back after a few days. But the difference between what your grandpa suggested and what I thought was I come back to you on Wednesday evening so I can spend time with you. Issei said, making Vali smile a little. Valina, my base physical strength is equal to your strength and your balance breaker. So you need to get stronger in order to keep up. I am also going to call you Vali since it kind of suits you. Issei continued, making Vali smile and nod her head, which was still buried in Issei's neck, which was wet from Vali's sobbing. She was going to use her time when Issei was not present to get stronger. Take a bath. I will prepare a fresh set of clothes for you. Then let us meet my family and my peerage. I got a set of evil pieces thanks to you. Pulling away from the hug, she gave a short kiss on Issei's lips and continued to speak. I love you, Ice. I love you too, Vali. Issei smiled. He is going to enjoy this life. I also heard what you said on the first night of my Dragonifaction. Seems like you're okay with sharing me, right? Issei was just now teasing Vali, who blushed. He heard me, damn it. Issei took a bath as Vali suggested. She kept clothes that fit him to wear on the bed in the room he resided in. It was a plain white t-shirt with green cargo plants and red sneakers. He also has black Bluetooth headphones around his neck and a black jacket tied around his waist. Vali said these clothes were specifically made for him and will not tear. Her grandfather apparently too a certain liking towards him and got them from Hephaestus since he owed her grandfather some favors. Vali wore black knee-high boots with a low heel. They were shinier than her jacket and fit Vali's knee perfectly. She also wore black fingerless gloves. Vali's beauty was enhanced even more with these accessories. Both of them made their way downstairs in comfortable silence. They were greeted by the Vali team on the right side of the couch and Vali's family on the left side, with Euclid standing near the table. Seems you woken up. You look a lot healthier than when you arrived, you know. Rizavim said with a smile on his face. Issei bowed down in 90-degree angle. He needed to get this out first before continuing. This shocked everyone even more so by what he said. Thank you everyone present here. Without you I most probably won't be alive. I am in debt to all of you for taking care of me these past few days, even if you did not know me personally. Neither of them expected this, though Issei was going to get a little arrogant and maybe become a little boastful, but not humble. Seems like the power has not gotten to his head. Razivim said. He smiled. Lot of people succumb to power and become arrogant, but Issei was humble as Vali described him. All of the people in the room smile. Issei his head up as well. They all get seated and the introduction were in order. Everyone introduced themselves and made small talk. Well, until Razina cut in. Anyway, when I am going to get great grandkids. She was excited as a child in a candy store. Valina was showing her excitement as well. I called dips on naming my first grandchild, Valina exclaimed. Vali and Issei both were blushing. Everyone was laughing. Overall it went well. Anyway, thank you Ice. Vali was sincere in every word. She wanted evil pieces, but couldn't since the Devil Council pressured her to be wedded to a pure blood, mostly for political gain, which hindered her process of gaining evil pieces. The politics were sorted out, and Vali was free to choose who she wanted to marry, even if the person was not a devil. Many devil families wanted to go against it since having children of the descendant of Lucifer and the White Dragon Empress, who was born with 14 devil wings, would boast a status and power. I know you love to fight strong people. Raiding games will give a variety of people. Plus killing is not allowed, so I can be assured you will be safe. Plus every pure-blooded has a right to gain his or her evil pieces without. Issei said offhandedly, like it was nothing. But for the people present it was something more. All of the people who tried to court Vali always said Vali should stop thirsting for a fight since it was not ladylike. Some were arrogant enough to say you should thirst for me, not for fighting, or you're a breeding horse, obey me. Both the sentences lead to hospitalization of the person who said that phrase. Issei on the other hand supported Vali's battle thirst, but in moderation, which was understandable. Rizavim and Razivim smiled knowing Vali found someone who would accept her completely, while Valina and Razina were happy as well. Vali team and Euclid were happy as well. Hiroka ran up and connected something to the 72 television and gave a grin that spelled trouble. The television lit up and a video was starting to play. Video starts. Placing her right hand on his forehead, she gently brushed his brown hair, which is starting to gain a red undertone to it. She ran her finger through his hair before cupping his cheek. A smile formed on Vali's face. This is the man she will spend the rest of her life with, and he was her rival. Sitting on the left side of the bed, still having her right hand on his cheek, she leaned down and placed her lips on his own and gave a kiss. It lasted for a few seconds before she pulled back. Then she gently spoke. I know that other women will come for you both because of your power and personality. I am okay with that. I am willing to share you because a person like you appears once in a lifetime. But I will not people like Rias and Rainer come close to you because people like them don't deserve you. I promise to make sure they don't come. I know you may not be able to hear me, but that is okay. She spoke softly and with determination. Leaning down, she kissed Issei's forehead. Good night, Ice, sweet dreams. Video ends. Vali's family smiled. Seems like Vali fell in love and hard. Kuroka and Bhikkhu were grinning like there is no tomorrow. Poor Vali is not going to hear the end of it. Arthur and Elaine intertwined their hands. They did after all love each other. The face smiled. Vali was blushing like there is no tomorrow, silently plotting murder of Kuroka. Issei was smiling. He pulled Vali into a side hug and kissed her forehead. Gaining a blush but no complaint. There is box sent to you by the flyer I gave you. Vali went to the cupboard near the dining hall and pulled out a black box. Issei went up to Vali and took the black box from her, giving her a thank you. Opening the black box, Issei saw a note, and under that note were chess pieces with a king piece. Each piece was black and had a look of a black diamond. Issei opened the note. It was from Hyoudou. Yo Issei. I hope your dragonification went well. By the time you see this, mostly a week has passed. Don't worry, my hand is fine, and the scares are a problem for the girls who see it. Anyway, these pieces are the predecessor of the evil pieces. They were created by Ajuka, Beelzebub, Sama and Hephaestus. These pieces can bring anyone into your peerage, and humans will be reincarnated into gods. Only humans, other species will retain their race. The reincarnated gods have low to non-existent divinity like your demonic energy. For the king piece to activate, the person needs to be strong and possess divinity, and you fit the criteria. Ajuka Sama gave this to you as a friendly sign from the devils. From your soon-to-be adoptive brother Hyoudou. P.S. Your parents are persistent on adopting me. Smiling, Issei realized Vali knew about this. He could feel it. She got her evil pieces, so Beelzebub Sama must have told her. Picking up the king piece, Issei inspected it. It looked like an ordinary chess piece. Issei got his hand on another of Hephaestus's work without trying. He felt no power from it. He realized he needs to take in the king piece to give the set its power. Well, Drake, your thoughts? Reincarnating to gods is powerful with divinity akin to your demonic energy when you're a devil, but any case you should use it. It will help you a lot. Even though your peerage members may have low divinity, it will grow over time, and a life where age and decease doesn't kill you sounds great. Issei gave a nod of acknowledgement, placing the king piece on his chested, and a sudden glow came from the piece, and it was gone. Probably it fused with him, meaning he is strong and has divinity, which is good. Hey, those chess pieces are pretty, Le Fay shouted like an excited child, jumping up and down. Looking at the pieces, it was indeed pretty. They were having a dark crimson color with hints of green and gold, and were sparkling like fairies. Odd but pretty. Well, what's the plan now? I mean, you have a month to do stuff. Bhikkhu's sentence trailed off, not knowing what to say. Well, Ophis is gone to do something. Knowing Ophis, it would probably spread the word of the Red Dragon Emperor and its fusion. Other than that, it told me to go to a location in France and Belgium border. Today, and then Ophis also said it wanted me to meet someone. Other than that, Drake told me the location of Tiamat's treasures, so I will return them as well. He said she hates him, but probably deal the situation calmly, so other than that, I guess there would gaining experience in fighting. My base strength is what Drake compared it to Vali's balance breaker. Scale male, I also have to test my abilities since I trained in my mindscape during my dragonification, so my body is adjusted accordingly. Issei explained his plan, getting nod of acknowledgement from people in the room. I will visit on the weekends and Wednesday nights as well, so Vali does not get lonely without me. The last part, Issei said with a smirk. Vali rolled her eyes and punched Issei lightly on his forearm. I also need to get stronger. Your base strength is at my balance breaker, so I need to catch up in terms of power. Can't let my rival surpass me that easily. I am also hoping you start forming a team. I wish to fight your team with mine. Vali smirked. She was giddy on how much she is going to push herself, which Issei returned with a smile. Well, hate to break it to you, but partner, I think we should leave now, since Ophis' voice held urgency as well. If you remember, Drake's voice rang through the room. Well, I think I should get going, Issei said, giving everyone a smile. Vali wanted to spend more time with Issei. Issei realized Vali's intention and cupped Vali's right cheek with his right hand and rubbed his thumb across her cheek, making her look him in the eye. He placed his lips on Vali, making her eyes go wide. Kuroka and Biku quickly clicked some pictures. Seconds later he pulled out and placed his forehead on hers. He also closed his eyes and smiled. I will be back, I promise. You better. Issei smiled. Vali was feeling better. Well then, thank you everyone for everything you did for me, I will never forget it. But I will see you soon. Issei said, bowing once again. Stepping back without saying anything, orange flames began to manifest underneath Issei's feet, and the flames rose to cover Issei's form, and in an instant the flames died down with Issei gone, presumably teleported to wherever Ophis asked him to go. That was awesome, Biku shouted at the top of his lungs, breaking Arthur's eardrums in the process, who proceeded to smack him in the back of the head. Without care, Biku continued. He better teach me that, getting another smack from Arthur and a giggle from LeFay. Scene change brought to you by Chibi. Time skip. Complaining to Chibi. Issei arrived in a large forest area. He looked around. It was relatively peaceful. He also sensed one devil, one half-devil with a high-tier Longinus, 5 humans, with Longinuses, 3 of them being high-tier. Issei made his way there and well, he quickly understood the situation. The 2 Longinus users and half-devils were being cornered by the 3 high-tier Longinus users and the devil. As the descendant of Leviathan, you must help the old Satan faction with your power. I, Shalba Beelzebub, order you to comply. The now identified Shalba said. You both are humans possessing scared gears. Join the hero faction. We need your power ever since Ophis fused with the Red Dragon Emperor. Said a man wielding a spear, the true Longinus, the first and strongest Longinus. Who the fuck are you? True Longinus user? Issei showed himself. I am Cao Cao, the descendant of Cao Cao of the 3 kingdoms. Leader of. Okay, I get it, you're part of the Cow Brigade Thingy, right? You're part of the hero faction. The other middle schooler with you is George, right? And the other one is Leonard. You're a descendant of Beelzebub who wants to start another war for the sake of it. Nope, not allowing you. Issei got out of his hiding place so everyone can get a good look at him. These people are not going with you. Issei said. Who do you think you are to stop us? The dragon, not wanting to show his identity, which would be problematic. This shocked everyone. Why would a dragon want to help them? Nobody knew, nor did they want to. Both Shalba and the hero faction backed up a bit. Fighting a dragon would be problematic. Fighting one, since they were not prepared to fight one, since Ophis left them, the backlash would be severe. As they finished their thoughts, Issei was in front of the 3 people they were chasing. Issei raised his aura to the maximum, directed to the Cow's Brigade. They instinctively took a step back. Issei's aura was at the start of the class of a Dragon King. DCH, we will be back to get you, Isu and Rinai. Cao Cao said as he and his group teleported away. I will get you, Ingvald. Shalba also teleported away. Issei turned around to the group of 3 and smiled. Good thing they left. I would have lost even when I am using my scared gear. I was a human, now a humanoid dragon. I am Hyoudou, Issei, Red Dragon Emperor. Nice to meet you. Giving a small smile which made the witch blush. They were shocked that this was the Red Dragon Emperor who fused with Ophis. There were 3 people. The male of the group is a young man with short black hair and pale grey eyes. Tobioikus, Longinus, Canis Lycan. Nice to meet you, Issei. Can I call you that? Issei nodded his head. I am Lavinia Rinai, Longinus, Absolute Demise. I am a magician. Nice to meet you, Ice. I hope we can get along. Maybe something more. She did not say the last part. She gave Issei a smile, coupled along with a nickname. It made Issei's heart skip a beat, and a blush adored his cheeks. Tobio smirked. He was going to have fun playing wingman. Lavinia is a very beautiful young woman with a slim voluptuous figure with long blonde hair and sapphire blue eyes. She was standing at a height of 5'11", a tad bit taller than Issei. Befitting her status as a magician, she is dressed in a witch robe with a cloak and a pointed witch hat. The last one was a half-devil who is a beautiful foreign girl who appears to be in her late teens with a whimsical aura. She has long purple hair and has orange eyes. She wears a white noble dress with cleavage that expose part of her big breasts, high slits and with sleeves. She also wears a black miniskirt. She seems shy. Aye. Come on, you can do it. Tobio cheered with both his hands and fists in front of him like an eager person. I am Ingvald Leviathan, newly manifested high-tier Longinus, narrated Kiri. My singing can control the sea and affect dragons. I am born from a human father and a descendant of Leviathan. I don't know them, since I have had the sleeping decease for a long time and manifestation of my Longinus awakened me. She looked down. Issei was reminded of Asia. Issei was shocked. She was powerful. He went to Ingvald and crouched down and put a hand on her head, making him look at her. Issei gave her a kind and warm smile. Nice to meet you, Ingvald. I hope to get along with you, Issei spoke in a brotherly tone. Making Ingvald nod. Well, let's get you patched up. As Issei said that, a blast of emerald green fire came from his hand covering the 3 people. Ingvald panicked. Don't worry, this fire is imbued with healing properties. My fusion of Ophis was stabilized with the power of Great Red and DNA of a primordial fairy dragon who were known for their healing magic. They were the ones who introduced healing magic after all. Fun fact, Twilight healing is based on the healing power of fairy dragons, but the sacred gear is nothing compared to fairy dragons. Issei's explanation calmed Ingvild down. Can you teach me the healing magic? Then Lavinia was excited as a child wanting to learn new magic. Sorry, I don't know the healing magic, but this fire is from my fairy dragon DNA. But I can find healing magic books for you, I am pretty sure Ophis has some. He said, getting up. How about we set up camp and then we can talk? Tobio suggested, which everyone agreed to. I'm Skip, brought to you by Chibi Time. Skip crying tears of joy for getting its rightful place back. Sun was setting in a forested area somewhat far from where they met. 4 people were sitting around a campfire. Lavinia was sitting on Issei's lap, and Issei's hand was wrapped around her waist and leaning his chin on her left shoulder. After a prank pulled by Tobio, Lavinia got a little of Issei's blood in her mouth, and she absorbed his draconic energy to wake him up. After explaining what Lavinia's actions did, which means she is marked by a dragon causing her to blush, she was okay that he was being shared. Well, right now the atmosphere was grim after everyone said their tale. It was Issei's turn to tell. Well, at first, it was Lavinia teasing him with her body, but now it was just grim with a slight bit of happiness. Lavinia was having her hands around his neck and her head was close to Issei as possible. Issei's left hand was around her waist and right hand stroking her long blonde hair. With Tobio having a distant expression and Ingvild crying in his chest. I am sorry. Lavinia was having tears in eyes. She was going kill. Rias never felt an intention to kill. It is fine, really, Ashura, it kind of hurts, but now I have Valina and Lavinia, plus I have now 2 younger sisters, Asia and Ingvild. But don't kill Rias, I don't hate her, but I have antagonistic feelings towards her. I am saying not to kill her since she is the younger sister of Surzich's Lucifer. Lavinia nodded her head, and so did Tobio and Ingvild. Partner, how about telling them about the pieces of God? Drake's voice broke the silence, slightly startling Ingvild and Lavinia. So that is what you're going to call them? Alright, not a bad name and makes sense. As an apology gift, Ajuka Beelzebub gave me the predecessor of the evil pieces, which were created in collaboration with Hephaestus. They act like a peerage system, but humans are reincarnated into gods, but the divinity of the person is nearly non-existent. I want to ask you guys, will you be willing to join my team of sorts? Issei did not want to pressure them. Over the few hours that they spent together, the group of people became close. Lavinia started to develop feelings for Issei, and he seemed to reciprocate it. Tobio and Issei became like brothers, and Ingvild was the younger shy sibling which everyone finds adorable. Sure, plus my Longinus is also as the dog god of the Black Blade, so I am game. Tobio was grinning, he was going to have one hell of time with Issei. Anything to stay with you, darling. She whispered the last part in his ear, nibbling on, causing Issei to blush. Seems the mark's effect was faster than volley. I will stay W with Ice Nai. I want to support him with my P power. The shy Ingvild replied as well. Issei smiled, pulling Lavinia out of his lap and placing her on the side, making her pout, which turned into a blush after Issei gave her a quick kiss on the lips. A magic circle appeared on top of Issei's hand and a black box dropped out. The pocket dimension kind of rare these days since it is pain to maintain one, but I have a full-fledged one unlike here which is only meant for one item. Lavinia stated while putting her witch hat on her head. I created a one during my dragonification, but since I was in my mindscape so it was only for one item. Issei opened the box and it revealed the chess set without the king piece. Lavinia came and wrapped her arms around Issei's neck and placed her head on his right shoulder. Pick a piece for me to become master. Biting Issei's ear, teasing him once again, making Issei gulp and blush. Tobio smirked and Ingvild giggled. I suggest bishop pieces for Ingvild and Lavinia, rook piece for Tobio. He has speed, the strength attribute of the rook will help. Issei said, regaining his composure. You sure it will work? I mean, we are Longinus users. Tobio replied, wanting to join Issei's team. He was worried the pieces might not work. There is not a restriction like that on this set. It is different than the evil pieces. It does not bring the dead back, nor has a limit to who it can bring in. Making others nod. This will be the day one of the most fearsome group of people will be formed. After some time it was night. All the pieces Issei mentioned worked. Now he has 3 Longinus users in his team, excluding himself and another mate. Overall it was a good day. He was sitting on the edge of a cliff some distance from where the camp is. Everyone was asleep. He was wondering where his other part of his soul was. He felt someone there. He turned around. It was Lavinia. You're awake. I could say the same thing. Lavinia retorted. She went and took a seat next to Issei. She went and sat next to Issei. There were a few minutes of silence, then Lavinia spoke. Everyone desired my body, my power, my talent, many men tired to claim me humans, devils and fallen angels. I gave up on men. Tobio is a brother figure to me. But, Issei, now I am yours and it was from an accident. I don't feel regret. But I feel your love for me is genuine. How? She was awake, but her voice was soft. Dragons are quick to emotions. Love is no different. Marks given by a dragon bring them closer together, whether they like it or not. I have grown closer to you so naturally. My instinct is to protect and love you. Issei replied in a caring tone. Why can I feel your emotions? Why I can feel what you feel? Is it because of the mark? Lavinia was curious. She wanted to know everything she could about the man she will spend her whole life with. Every dragon's mark will have something unique to it. Mine is this: I cannot lie to you nor can you to me. I can feel your ambitions and intentions and you can feel mine. Because I was born from truth and hope. Lavinia nodded her head. Knowing his past is a touchy subject even when he is open about it. Lavinia. Issei started off. If you ever need anything, I will be here. If you want to talk to anyone, I will be here. If you feel uncomfortable, then I will be there. Every dragon has their treasure. For Dragon Albion it is their rivalry, for Vali it is her family, team, fighting and I. For me it is family, that includes you, Vali, Tobio and Ingvald as well. I won't leave my family. He truly meant every word he said. He knew other women would be there in his life, but he will protect each and every one of them with his life. Issei did not get a chance to do anything when he turned to see Lavinia. She kissed him on the lips. After some time Issei reciprocated it. The kiss continued with Issei placing his left hand on her right cheek, tilting his head a little, deepening the kiss, licking her lower lip, asking her permission to enter, which she granted, sliding his tongue into her mouth. Both fought for dominance, but Lavinia submitted. She moaned as Issei's tongue explored her mouth. The couple continued to kiss underneath the full moon. They pulled back and looked into each other's eyes, blush adorning their faces. I love my dear eyes. Lavinia's heart was now completely by Issei. I love you too, Lavinia. The dragon usually has more than one mate. Issei is no different. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.